while Kansas says dealers must pay taxes on illegal drugs. Few take them up on it, you guys. Can you believe this?
Damn.
Yeah. Are we gonna run it? Yep. Yeah, you guys, this is... I can't believe that they're saying they got to pay taxes on drugs, Mathieu St. Germain. What do you think about that? Because Kansas drug dealers are required by law to pay taxes on their illegal products. But a records request reveals very little use of the drug tax stamp program, you guys. I've heard of these kinds of things before. So far this year, the Kansas Department of Revenue collected 14 drug stamps valued at $10 last year. It collected the same number of $10 drug stamps plus one $50 stamp. Drug tax stamps were implemented in 1987, and by statute, it requires anyone in possession of illegal drugs exceeding a certain threshold to purchase the stamps as an excise tax. It must then be affixed to whatever container the drugs are in. Well, this is in Kentucky, okay?
This is insane.
In a quote, the fact that dealing with and possessing marijuana and controlled substances is illegal does not exempt it from taxation. Now, that's true. Therefore, drug dealers and people who possess marijuana and controlled substances are required by law to purchase drug tax stamps equal to the value of the illegal drugs in their possession, says the Kansas DOR's page on drug tax stamps. The DOR, which would be the Department of Revenue, says the stamps may be purchased anonymously at its Taxpayer Assistance Center in Topeka, and that it is prohibited from sharing information about stamp purchases with law enforcement. That sounds shady to me because you're walking into their building, but whatever. Do drug dealers actually purchase these stamps, you ask? Well, the 14 $10 stamps this year would only cover about 1.5 ounces of marijuana. The Department of Revenue didn't confirm whether multiple people purchased the stamp, and marijuana is taxed at a rate of $3.50 per gram with a minimum threshold of 1 ounce to be considered a dealer. That means a dealer would have to pay $98 to the state per ounce of marijuana, you guys.
Damn.
Yeah, right. There's no threshold for domestic marijuana plants and are taxed at 40 cents per gram for still living, in quotes, wet plants and 90 cents per gram of dried whole plants. A single marijuana plant would likely exceed the total $140 in drug stamps issued so far this year. And the $10 stamp would also only account for 1/20th of a gram in controlled substances sold by weight, which would be for such drugs as cocaine or crystal meth. And they say dealers don't use them, but it's used against them because with only a handful of purchases and at price points that put the buyer well below the needed cost for tax on a dealer level amounts of D, in a quote, it is safe to say very rarely do illegal dealers have the tax stamp, said Washburn University law professor John Francis. But if convicted for not affixing a drug tax stamp to illegal drugs, the state can fine up to double of what the stamps would have cost. Law enforcement officials previously told the Capital Journal that the financial hit is a valuable tool in deterring drug dealers from reoffending. Oh, man. The Kansas Supreme Court narrowed the law in 2013 to only apply to people who are convicted with an intent to distribute rather than a simple possession charge, and that came up earlier this month when the Kansas Appellate Court overturned a conviction for both possession and possession without a drug tax stamp in Kansas versus Jones. A key fact here is that she didn't meet the definition of dealer, Francis said, and the way the state charged Jones and the underlying evidence they find Jones' conviction arose out of the same conduct, as there was only one impulse to personally use the marijuana, you guys. This is just crazy to me. Kansas drug tax stamps. I know that they used to have tax stamps for cannabis federally and whatnot way back in the day, but this is just one big clown show in Kansas. I can't believe that this is even a real thing. And just the ridiculousness of that. If you're a drug dealer and you get arrested, it's bad enough you're going to jail, but now you're also going to get taxed with a tax levy for not buying these ridiculous stamps that they're saying are anonymous, but you know you're being filmed anytime you walk into a government building. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
How'd they get Al Capone?
I was just going to say that. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, like, here's the thing. If you have no, we'll just speak, like everyone's ignorant and has never sold an illicit drug in their life and would never, good Christian, God-fearing people, we know you don't.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, pay some kind of taxes. I don't care what you say it's on. Pay some kind of 1099 bullshit. Just pay something, right? Because, like, if your job is to pay as least as possible, just pay something and let them leave you alone. The government's a lot nicer to you if they're getting something out of you.
Correct.
I mean, Matthew, if you lived in Kentucky, can you imagine people just running around selling mushrooms with these little tax stamps on them?
First off, if I lived in Kentucky, I would walk, run, or fly, or swim the hell out of there back to California. But yeah, it's just like, if you pay the stamp, then you put your address on it, you're de facto snitching on yourself.
Exactly.
It's not a great plan. It's just another way to hammer you even harder if you. That's all it is. Again, just for a plant.
Mm-hmm.
It's for a plant. Gross.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yarrow, are you with us, or have you disappeared into the Alps? He must. He's.
I'm with you guys, and I'm a little conflicted on this. You know, Capone went to jail for tax evasion, not bootlegging. So there's that to consider. That taxes and not paying taxes just opens people up for additional exposure and prosecution. And sometimes the underlying source of revenue, whether it's legal or not, is different than the obligation to pay taxes. I almost feel like the IRS could be trusted to not tell any other agency as long as they get their bread. This is a tough one.
Yeah,
it is a form of self-reporting that is not consistent with common sense.
Yeah, Yarrow, but this isn't the IRS. This is the state of Kentucky. Or Kansas, excuse me.
I'm sorry. I use IRS as just all things tax related. Standardized Tax Board, IRS, whatever you want to call it. The tax man, and I don't even know why it needs to be a man. In this day and age of, it could be, I don't know what the exact pronouns are, but the
tax human.
Nonetheless, the tax entities seem to be so laser focused on their revenue that I do think you could almost count on them not to tell on anybody as long as they were getting their piece.
It's definitely the one thing that I really love about Trump and the Republicans is they're wanting to destroy the IRS.
Look at that. And
hey, let's build some bridges today, you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I love it here.
Mm-hmm. Cute, you guys. Very, very cute. Well, I thought you guys would enjoy that. I know I enjoyed it. I could just imagine what Dorothy is saying about buying tax stamps with little Toto and whatnot.
She found out Toto's trapping.
Mm-hmm.